Good morning and welcome to this webinar 7 reports that can help you connect the dots in your IT support. I'm Ashwin, ITSM evangelist and product marketer at Manage Engine. So, as we had mentioned earlier, all attendees of this webinar get a free copy of our most downloaded white paper, the Essential Handbook of Service Desk Metrics, which is available on the handout section on your GoToWebinar control panel. If you have any questions during the course of the webinar, share them under the questions section and I will have them answered at the end of this webinar. Now, before I start this webinar, a quick introduction about Manage Engine for those attendees who are not very familiar about us. Manage Engine is the enterprise IT management division of Soho Corp. We create more than 24 products to manage various aspects of your IT, starting from a help desk tool to IT operations management tool, client device management tools, Active Directory management tools, and advanced analytic tools specifically designed for IT. If you need more information about Manage Engine, you can visit our site www.manageengine.com. Now to our webinar. This webinar will have a 4-point agenda. The first, we'll talk about why IT help desk report, the top 3 reasons for which IT help desks around the globe are creating reports. And then we will discuss why IT help desk team should go beyond just monitoring metrics and various KPIs to performing advanced analytics on their help desk data. Then is the most meatiest part of the webinar, where we will discuss 7 everyday IT challenges or questions or issues that you face and 7 reports specific to each of these questions or challenges to help address all these challenges. And the next part will be how do we create these reports using Manage Engine Analytics Plus, which is the self-service IT analytics platform from Manage Engine. So when I explain all these reports in the previous section, I will jump to Manage Engine Analytics Plus and give you a quick demo on how to generate all the reports explained using our product. So let's get started. Now, when we set out to build an IT analytics or a business intelligence tool specifically for IT admins, we launched a survey to understand the reporting trends of IT people, their requirements in terms of reporting, and what type of analysis that they do on their data. So one of the questions was, what are the top 3 reasons that you create reasons for? So the first reason was to detect inefficiencies in the service desk, which involves finding answers to questions like why are we not closing more tickets given the number of technicians that we have? Why are we taking longer to resolve incidents of a particular category than the other category, and so on. Now, the next reason was to identify problem areas in your IT which could potentially cause repeat incidents to your help desk, thereby overloading your technicians. And the third most obvious reason, to measure customer or end user satisfaction. So these were the 3 reasons that IT help desk across the globe selected as the top 3 reasons they create reports for. So I guess it's more or less the same for you people here as well. Now, there was one other finding from the survey that kind of validated one of our assumptions. The finding was that more than 60% of the respondents created at least 5 custom reports per week, which meant that most help desks were performing IT analytics on their help desk data without their knowledge. Now, what is analytics or advanced analytics? Analytics is just a systematic analysis of various reports or of various information and data that is available from your IT help desk. Metrics are fine, but the problem is that they just tell you if things are right or wrong. They don't help you find the answer to the question, why are things going wrong? When did things go wrong? Now, how do I fix this thing which is going wrong? To explain you clearer, say for example, when we get sick and when we visit a physician, the physician first starts measuring certain things like our pulse rate or temperature. These are like our metrics and KPIs that we track on a regular basis. They just tell us how sick we are or if we are really sick. Now, to really find the underlying reason for the sickness and the source of the problem, the physician relies upon a series of other reports and tests to understand more on what is really causing the symptoms and the sickness. Similarly, in our IT help desk, we need to look beyond metrics and KPIs and move towards performing advanced analytics on our IT help desk data to understand more about our IT help desk and improve the performance continuously. Now, to give you more emphasis on why we should do it, I will talk about few examples here. The first one, let's take the metric, the number of incidents resolved, say in a quarter or a month or so on. Now, this as a standalone number or a metric just helps you answer how many incidents we closed last quarter. It provides no other information. Now, when you perform analytics with few other reports and join these reports and try to analyze further, you might be able to answer the question, how do we close more incidents without ramping up our IT help desk team or without putting in more budget into our IT? Similarly, what do you get from the number of technicians you have in your IT help desk team? Nothing. It is just a mere number which tells you how many agents you have. But if you're able to understand the trend by which your technicians are closing various requests, the categories where they take longer to resolve incidents, and so on, you might be able to find answer to this question. Are our agents optimized to achieve this year's service desk goals? And one final example, one metric that which we always talk about, the average cost to resolve an incident. Now, this probably tells you, is your help desk efficient enough or efficient enough? So higher the average cost to resolve, lower your team is efficient, and lower the cost to resolve, higher efficient is your team. But if you really need to know how to reduce the cost per ticket without adjusting your IT budgets or ramping up your help desk team, you need to perform advanced analytics on your IT help desk data. And as I mentioned earlier, analytics is nothing but a simple analysis of the various KPIs, metrics, and reports that you have from your IT help desk data. So, in the next section, what to report, we will discuss about few, or to be precise, 7 such challenges or questions or issues that we think every help desk team faces in their daily life, and corresponding 7 reports that will help you find answers to most of these questions. So let's start with the first and simplest one. What does our help desk timeline tell us? Here, I'm sure most of us are familiar with crime scene investigation shows or air crash investigation shows and so on. Now, the basic element in any of these investigation is establishing a timeline of events that occurred. Now, this timeline helps people understand where things started going wrong, why things started going wrong, and how bad did things start going wrong from a certain point. Similarly, having a timeline of all the requests that come into your help desk help you infer more about the things that are happening in your help desk. Say for example, this graph which just lists one simple metric, the number of backlogs by month. doesn't tell you much other than that the month of May has more number of backlogs. But you don't get any information on why does May have more number of backlogs, or how do you bring down the number of backlogs in May. Now, if you superimpose this particular backlog data with a timeline of other events like the number of incoming requests, resolved requests, SLA violations, and backlogs, you get a clearer picture. So in this illustration, we see that a marginal increase in the number of incoming requests in April led to a sudden spike in the SLA violations in April, and this probably carried over as backlog in the month of May. Now, the question of why was there an unproportionate increase in the SLA violated request compared to the marginal increase in the number of incoming requests is an analysis by itself, which we will discuss in one of the reports later. But now, this timeline helps you understand the underlying reason behind the backlog in May of 2017 in this graph. Similarly, establishing a timeline for your help desk data can help you infer a lot about your help desk performance and find out reasons for a lot of things that are probably not working right or not going wrong in your help desk team. So now to a quick demo on how to create this request using Manage Engine Analytics Plus. So this is the Manage Engine Analytics Plus UI, where you can create advanced report without a single line of code, just by simple drag and drop options. So since this is going to be on request, I select the request table, I click on new, enter new chart view. So we will create request with created time on the x-axis, and then the incidents, the number of incidents on y-axis. So you click generate graph, you get a timeline of all your incoming requests. Now let's go ahead and add other parameters like resolved request count and SLA violated request, backlog, and so on, and click to generate graph, and we get a timeline of various incidents that came in to your help desk. Now from here you can view underlying data of a particular month, or you can drill down the request by various other parameters like mode, category, SLA, impact, subject, and so on. So this is how you create a timeline of various incoming requests in your help desk using Manage Engine Analytics Plus. Now here to the second question: is my service desk properly staffed? When it comes to managing your help desk, it's not just about having the right number of it's not just about the right number of having the right number of technicians, but it is about having the right technicians with the right expertise at the right time of the day. So we'll now look at a very simple report with 3 charts that could help you devise a staffing plan effectively. So the first chart in this report is the request count by hour of the day. Now in this chart, from this illustration, it is clear that most number of requests come in at around 9 a.m. to probably 6 p.m. So which means that more number of technicians have to be made available at this time to hold or to attend this load of incoming requests. You can further drill down these incidents by priority. So from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is where more number of high priority and medium priority incidents come in. So you need to have the proper amount of technicians who are well equipped to handle high priority and medium priority incidents. And same, you can categorize, you can view the request by category. So 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. again has most number of desktop and software related issues coming in for this particular illustration. So the technicians should be present who are able to handle desktop and software related issues in this particular time to ensure that there are no SLA violations or escalation. So with this simple chart, you can decide the number of staffs that are to be present on duty during every hour of the day, and even analyze the type of expertise and the level of expertise that your technicians need to be present on that particular hour of the day to ensure that all results are being picked up. So we will go to Manage Engine Analytics Plus to see a quick review of this particular, to see how we can create this. So I've already created an staffing dashboard which has ticket inflow by hour of the day, and we also have requests along hour of the day by priority. So we'll just edit the previous timeline that we created to create this staffing chart. So we will remove all other parameters from our y-axis and just retain incident request count. Now we can add categories under color and click on generate graph. So we'll move to bar chart. So this gives a timeline, and this is for months. Now since we need it by hour of the day, just click hour of the day and generate graph. So this gives you the number of requests by various category across the hour of the day. Now if you want this to be color coded by priority, you can add priority here and click on generate graph to get the number of requests by priority across the various hours of the day. So this way your staffing report can be generated in Analytics Plus. Now to the third question. What are the major factors that are impacting our SLA performance? So for this, we'll carry over the case that we saw in report 1, where there was a sudden spike in the SLA violated requests in spite of a marginal increase in the number of requests. So this is our SLA complaints level report. So the first chart is obviously the SLA complaint request versus SLA violated request, and April has the most number of SLA violated requests. And as we saw earlier, there is no substantial increase in the number of requests. In case if there had been a heavy spike in the number of incoming requests, the case might have been where your technicians were overworked with the more number of requests coming in, and hence they were not able to solve requests on time. But here it is not the case. So which means that there were other IT assignments like problem analysis or change implementation or other tasks that your technicians were working on, which reduced their efficiency in handling requests, thereby impacted the SLA complaints levels negatively. So we move on to a next chart, which represents the technician load ratio, which is nothing but the total number of incoming requests, service requests, change requests, other tasks and problem analysis by the total number of technicians. So here it is clear that April has more number of technician load ratio, which obviously has led to SLA complaints levels taking a huge hit. Now we can drill down further to see what type of works that your IT technicians were working on in the month of March and April that led to SLA violations taking a hit. In this illustration, it is clear that though the number of requests were more or less the same in March and April, the number of emergency changes have nearly doubled. So this makes it clear that the technicians were overworking on implementing emergency changes, that they were not able to spend time effectively in resolving incidents, which led to SLA violation taking a hit. Now, this number of emergency changes doubling in 1 month is an analysis by itself, which could lead to a lot of potential change failures, which again consequently can affect the service delivery. And we'll talk about change failures and understanding why change fail in another report in future. But now this 4-chart report helps you diagnose the reason behind your SLA complaints levels taking a hit. Now we will jump to Analytics Plus. So I've already created an SLA violation analysis report. So the first chart, SLA complaints versus breach time, is available as an out-of-the-box report in Analytics Plus. So you can just select it and add it in your dashboards. And request inflow by trend, as we saw earlier, we can create it by having created time on x-axis, which is month and year, and incident request. So you can remove the priority and click chart. You get the timeline of number of incidents coming in by the month and year. And the next chart is technician load ratio. Now, since this involves data from various modules of your IT help desk, like request and change, we created an query table which has all the data related to the request and change combined. So from here, I create a new chart view. So I add created time on x-axis and the technician load, a formula that we created for this specific chart, and I click on generate graph to get the technician load ratio displayed here. Now for the next graph, which is the request versus changes, again I open up the request and change query table. I select new chart view, so I add created time on x-axis and the module on the color code and create a graph. So let's go to bar graph and we'll apply a filter for created time so that we can have a closer analysis on the month of April, May and March probably. So this gives a clear representation that the number of changes were high in the month of April. Now you can drill this down by type to understand which type of change were your technician concentrating on during this month, and it clearly shows emergency changes. Now you can further drill this emergency changes by technician, created time and other parameters to understand more about the change behavior, which we'll discuss in another report in this webinar. So now that is the SLA compliance report. The fourth question is one question that every IT help desk team needs to find or needs to keep a check on every few months, which is, are the right technician accessing the right business critical services? Because the risk of an untrained or an unauthorized technician involving himself in an incident or request related to a business critical server or an application is higher than the ticket waiting in queue for a few minutes for the right person to attend. So this can be checked by a simple chart where you take technicians and the number of requests that are associated with across the various business critical categories. So say for example in this chart, Bruce Waters is not supposed to be working on virtualization area, but you see that there is one particular request that Bruce Waters has worked on in the virtualization category. So you can now analyze the nature of the ticket, the details, check the role of Bruce Waters in that particular ticket and see why was he associated with that ticket, and if it is not supposed to happen, you can ensure that this doesn't happen in future. Now to generate this report in Analytics Plus, we integrated the underlying help desk with Applications Manager, which is an application tracking software or application monitoring software from Manage Engine. So this ensures that any alarm on any server or an application is created as a request in Service Desk Plus. So this way we can create a report to see which of these business critical alarms that is generated from application manager to Service Desk Plus is handled by which of your technicians. So we'll go here and open up this particular graph, which has the technician on the x-axis, the resource ID or the number of the count ID of the alarm on y-axis, and their category as color codes. So this shows the technicians and the number of requests that they have handled across various other across various business critical services or applications. So this way you can ensure that only the right technicians are accessing all these business critical applications, and even when a person or a technician has accessed one of the services which he's not supposed to, you can click and view the underlying data or drill it down further to understand on why that person was involved in that particular request. And now to the next question: why does our change success rate take a hit? So this report starts with the first chart, change success rate versus the change success rate. So this illustration tells us that April has more number of failed changes. So now we need to investigate further on the failed changes in the month of April to understand what type of change or what category of change was failing more when compared to the other changes. So we create an chart where we list the failed changes by category. Now this illustration shows that there is not much of difference in the number of failed changes by category, so which could mean that this changes did not fail based on a category. So we analyze the failed changes by type. Now here the number of emergency changes, the number of failed emergency changes has peaked. So this has contributed to the failed changes in the month of April. Now further you can drill down the failed emergency changes to really validate if these emergency changes are supposed to be emergency changes, or were these major changes or other type of changes that were executed as emergency changes due to last minute rush or pressures or whatsoever. So we'll see how all these charts can be created in Analytics Plus. So I've already created a dashboard for failed changes. So yeah, change failures. So the first graph lists the number of failed changes by month. So to create that, we'll open the change table. The change table, and click on new chart view. Let's say completed time. Okay, 1 minute. So edit design. So we have completed time on the x-axis, and we have color coded it by the status, and then we have applied a filter where we select only the failed changes to be displayed, and the completed time is the last 6 months. So this way we get a chart of the total number of failed changes in the last 6 months. Now the second graph is where we list the number of failed emergency changes by the reason for their change and color code them by request. So let's see how this request is created. So we have the reason for change on the x-axis and the count of the number of changes on the y-axis, and we have color coded them according to their risk involved, and we have applied a filter for change types as emergency, so that only emergency changes that have failed are listed in this graph. So here it is seen that more number of emergency changes which have high risks have been executed across in the month of April. So this shows that probably changes that should not have been executed as emergency changes are being executed as emergency changes for any further underlying reason. So you can click here and view the number of changes and analyze the changes to understand if they were really to be executed as emergency changes or if they were being executed out of pressure or out of deadline issues. Now to the sixth question, which is actually one of the simplest yet most confusing questions. When we decide to create a knowledge base to help our end users self-solve incidents, where do we start with? What kind of articles do we put into our knowledge base so that it has a positive effect on the number of incidents that are coming into our help desk? So for this, we created a simple chart based on a simple logic. We listed all the categories with most number of first call resolved incidents. So the underlying logic is that if incidents are being resolved in their first call, it means that the resolution for that incident is well documented and it is simple enough to be communicated to the end user right within the first call. So you would rather have all these solutions listed as knowledge base articles and leave them for your end users to access them whenever they want and self-resolve incidents than to create an incident request with the help desk and resolve it with the help of technician. So this way, when we build up our knowledge base, we ensure that simple incidents are being resolved by end users themselves, so that you free up time and space for your technicians to work on other things that matter, like implementing changes or diagnosing problems in your IT environment. So now to Analytics Plus to see how this report is created. So we create a report with the category on x-axis. Now you can even have subcategory, or if you want to be more specific, you can have item or subject line on the x-axis, have the incident count on y-axis, and in the filter we say first call resolved is yes, so that we get a chart of the total number of requests across category that were resolved in the first call. So from this graph you can pick out categories, or you can further view the underlying data to see the subject or content of the various tickets and decide which are the topics that you should populate into your knowledge base first to ensure that end users help themselves, and this positively reflects in a decline in the number of incidents that are coming into your help desk. And now to the final question. Having done all this, at the end of the day, we are all still puzzled on how do we communicate the value of IT to our business leaders or the top level management. See, the thing here is that top level management is not really concerned about the operational metrics like the number of hours that your IT help desk team works, the number of tickets that you solve, and so on. They are concerned about anything that impacts business. So they need to know about the number of outages that happen, the number of outages that you saved business from, how prompt was your IT help desk team in resolving such outages, how soon do you deliver services to the business users, so that they go ahead and contribute more to the business. And when business users report an incident, is your IT help desk team able to solve that according to SLAs so that they get back to work for the business soon? So keeping all this in mind, we created an dashboard that gives a holistic view of your help desk performance and also communicates the value that you are delivering to the business. So it starts with the number of unsatisfied end users as compared to your previous quarter, the average cost per request, and the number of major outages, the backlogs, and then areas with higher customer dissatisfaction. Now, here you can drill down further to understand specifics about the areas of customer dissatisfaction, and you can even deliver a training plan for your IT help desk team to help them work more efficiently on these areas to ensure that they provide better service in these categories. And then, as mentioned, we also have SLA compliance levels. So this dashboard, we guess, could help you establish the value of value of IT to the business, to your business leaders. Now, this dashboard is available as an out-of-box dashboard in Analytics Plus. So it even has further more information like the SLA complaints versus breached, request resolution time by age tier, and so on. Now you can edit this dashboard, add more charts and reports that you need according to your requirements. So these are the 7 questions that we thought we could create reports and share with you in this webinar that would help you address these questions and challenges in your IT help desk. Now, if you have similar questions or IT challenges or issues that you think could be resolved if you have the right visibility and right charts, please write to us at hello@servicedeskplus.com, and we will be very happy to try and help you about finding the right charts and reports that can help you answer these questions.